through. That's all I can do.
Not what that is.
You let me know if you figure it out. Oh, yeah. We took her away.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 10th, 2025 Town of Ithaca Board Meeting. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to
the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we're all here this evening, all the town board members. So great. So we will start with persons to be heard, for which, if they want to address something that's not a public hearing, and I believe that there is someone who would like to address the board. Don, I'll turn it over to you. We ask that you keep it to about 3 minutes. And you have to unmute yourself, Don.
There we go. You can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Hi, board members. I'm hoping to become a new member of the community. I've purchased a lot. I'm building a house on West King Road. I have a zoning situation I wanted to bring to your attention. I obtained a variance in September 2023 for relief from side yard setback to build a home in the low density zoning district. When the lot was subdivided and a land development plan was approved in 1956, the zoning of the lot was high density residential. The need for the variance stems from a zoning change to essentially low density residential, which increased the setback from 10 feet to 40 feet, resulting in only 20 feet width in which to build a house. The town zoning ordinance calls for expiration of variances after 18 months if significant progress has not been achieved in the construction made possible by the variance. Such a provision is not uncommon in municipalities in New York State. My variance expires in March 18th, 2025. Due to unforeseen circumstances since September of 2023, progress on my project was delayed several months. The first delay was due to the fact that the property lines of my lot and the lots adjacent to it immediately are uniquely set back about 40 feet from the center line of West King Road. This is due to a taking in the 1930s where Buttermilk Falls is shown as access road. West King Road is shown as a Buttermilk Falls access road. They took a lot of land. And so as a result, there's several trees that the town owns. The town owns the land between my lot and a fair distance to the road. Mike Beach said he'd take the trees down with a parks project was planned. But due to the backlog created by all the trees that came down last year, they were unable to get to it for a few months. Took another month. They borrowed equipment from the city, which I really appreciated, and they took out the trees down. But that was one delay. Second delay was my person designing my house came up with diagnosis of brain cancer. And it took 2 months. It's a custom home outfit. He's a representative to identify a new person, get them up to speed to continue the design and complete it. During 2024, I cleared the lot, obtained the necessary permits, and constructed a driveway and the county designed septic system. Despite investing over $60,000 in the lot last year and continuing to pursue the project as fast as I could, construction on the building has not commenced. And an application for a permit has not been submitted. My project was finally entered into the formal design process with the home company a few weeks ago, but it could take another 8 weeks to get signed plans stamped, engineered for New York State. The zoning department advised me that the town does not have a provision for extending the time frame of a variance and directed me to submit an application for another variance hearing, which I have done. The application is identical to the first one. The same relief is requested in the same location for the same reasons. It's identical. It's only needed because I need to extend my variance. Many municipalities in the state provide for extending a variance, but by the zoning board of appeals at their discretion upon request prior to the expiration of a variance. A 6-month extension appears to be standard in a search of ordinances and papers authored by lawyers who study such things in New York State, the New York State laws and zoning. This process prevents the landowner from incurring additional expense and having to file a new application in the event appropriate justification is demonstrated. The town does not have such provision that I'm aware of, and I am respectfully requesting the town consider the situation someone like myself finds themselves in, and to possibly adopt a resolution providing for extending zoning variances. You know, I live over 2.5 hours away. So I have to post the lot with a sign. Your people are great. Everyone's great with the town, the staff. I'll have to go and get the sign, pick it up and go post the lot. That will take a day and the expense of me driving up and back. And technically, I'd like to appear before zoning hearing boards. I was a zoning hearing board member in my town. I was a supervisor in my town, elected supervisor. I helped write zoning ordinances. I don't know the background. I have to be honest. I didn't ask Marty and say, hey, do you know if this subject of extensions has ever been discussed? So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I don't expect to necessarily get relief myself, but you know, it's a type of deal where I think that if I had been able to plead my case to the zoning hearing board, if you did have an extension possibility, I should probably be able to get one.
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
Okay, thanks for bringing this to our attention. I did
Thanks so much.
Marty Mosley this morning, and we'll bring this to, I'm not sure where yet, to have a further discussion. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, there's no one else in Zoom land to address the board, correct? Okay, so moving on, the next item is a public hearing regarding a proposed local law amending the town of Ithaca code. And this will sound familiar because we've done this in the past. So these are tax exemptions for seniors and disabled persons with limited income. When the county changes their threshold, we often do the same. So the resolution doesn't give you the information, but there's a memo from Jay Franklin that the local law would increase the limit to 36,500 as the new threshold for the low income disabled individuals and seniors. So again, I think we've done this 2 or 3 times. We tend to be in parallel with where the county is for their tax exemptions. So would someone like to move the adoption of the revised local law? Eric, is there a second?
Second.
Pam, questions, comments?
Do we have a lot of taxpayers who are granted this exemption?
No, I know we've asked Jay that before. We can get you the numbers, but not many.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry that that's not very helpful. Not many.
Not many. It could be 1 or 100.
But yeah, that would be good information.
Okay.
So I can ask that. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Did I open the public hearing? This is a public hearing, so let's, but I asked if there were any members waiting to speak, and there weren't. But I guess that's not the same of actually opening the public hearing, is it, Susan? So should we just reverse that for a minute and go back and open public hearing? No, okay, open the public hearing for consideration of this local law, revising the exemptions. Open the public hearing at 39. We see no members of the public wishing to address us on this topic. We'll close the public hearing. Can we just vote again on it?
Yes.
Been seconded.
I moved.
Eric second, Pam. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Pass. Next item is designation and transfer of a surplus lawnmower to Lakeview Cemetery. By the way, I meant to mention that the letter from Don Moore is on your computers. I should have mentioned that so you could have followed along. He basically read the letter, just so you have that. And then this resolution and the agreement got slightly revised from when we sent them out in the package. So the revisions are also on your computer. Basically, we're not viewing this as a revised agreement. This is an agreement about the specific lawnmower. And the agreement had one small change, just so that any past agreements are still in place with Lakeview Cemetery. So what you're really focusing on tonight is the 2018 Grasshopper model 725 DT. So would someone like to move the resolution?
I'll move that.
Is there Rich, is there a second?
Second.
Margaret, I heard Margaret second. The other change that we made to the agreement, it was unclear in past agreements whether we wanted the equipment back when they stopped using it. We made it clear we do want the equipment back when they've stopped using it or when they don't have anyone who can continue to maintain it. So that was one change.
I thought that was a good change, given the history.
We thought it was there, but it didn't seem to be there. So when we were looking at past agreements. Any other questions? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Unanimous. Good news is there's no more public hearings, so I won't forget, no more public hearing. Next item is, so remember last time we talked about, there was a brief presentation about Maplewood 2. You had the proposed PDZ in your packet. Tonight's resolution is just to set the public hearing to approve the PDZ language for March 10th. And once we pass the resolution, we'll see if anyone has had a chance to start digging into it. If you have any questions, but does someone like to move the resolution setting the public hearing for March 10th? Susie, is there a second? Eric, any questions about setting the public hearing? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. So I don't know, has anyone had a chance to start looking at PDC? Any questions you want us to entertain this evening? Certainly, you'll have another opportunity to bring those questions to the March 10th meeting. Rich?
I just had a kind of a brief follow-up because I had some questions for Susan and CJ regarding the order of approvals and whatnot. And I did find what I think is a kind of a contradiction in our code related to what needs to be in place before a preliminary site plan can be considered. And then there's another reference in the code to zoning changes that occur as a result of a site plan. So I think that at minimum, that language needs to be reconciled somehow. But we should consider that going forward. So
which committee, where would we bring that?
Doesn't matter. I can just certainly highlight those sections of the code, and then our esteemed legal counsel can tell me whether or not it rises to the level of a committee.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you for finding that
Sure.
there was some discrepancy.
Thanks.
And it sounds like you and Susan have already talked about this.
A little bit, yeah.
Any other questions about the, is there anything you want to say more about it, CJ?
I think so. I guess at this point, I'm just happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Okay, all those in, we already did this, right? Okay. Moving on to item number 6. This is to increase the authorized project cost for the 2024 sanitary sewer rehab project. And as they looked at this more carefully, they identified more deficiency than originally anticipated. So the director of engineering is estimating the additional work at 45,000. So this is adding on to the original $271,494, that $45,000. Dave, there's also this figure mentioned in here of 69,681. Do you want to just explain where that number comes from?
Yeah, that number is authorized the director to issue change orders. It's a summation of the number requested in the resolution and the amount previously approved in the original project resolution, which was $24,681.
So would someone like to move the resolution? Pam, is there a second?
Second.
Rob seconds. So questions?
So there's more leaks than expected or something?
Kind of, so these contracts, we bid out the CCTV work, the televising, the part of the contract. We've done a numerous amount of these over the years, usually fall under our estimate.
Mhm.
This section of pipe, the pipes that we're doing, there is more deficiencies than we estimated. The contractor gave us pretty good price using the line items in the contract, so it's most effective to do them while they're here instead of bidding it out in a later project,
Mhm.
since they're already going to be in those sections of Maine. But yeah, it's just a matter of, we didn't know what we couldn't see until they were here.
Is there one street that's particularly bad or one main?
No, I think we're primarily doing 3 or 4 larger trunk lines in the northeast.
Mhm.
And it's on all of them. So it's just older infrastructure for us, 1970s, asbestos cement, so it's brittle. It's just the nature of the material being in a flat location and ground, so.
Any other? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Moving on to item number 7, authorization to award engineering consultant agreement for East Shore Drive pedestrian bicycle safety corridor project. This would go to Barton and LaJudas. This is sort of the second phase, if you will, of this work. So the fee would not exceed 165,000. That includes a change order of 5,000. So Barton and LaJudas also did the first phase. And do you know what the timeline is when they might have this phase completed, CJ?
So Dave, do you know off the top of your head? I can.
It would be end of this year with construction next year, I believe.
And at some point, we'll see there will be a bid process for those to actually construct whatever engineering design they come up with.
Yeah, this is funded through a TAP grant, so there's a lot of DOT checks and balances and review along the way. So once we get through DOT, I'd imagine it probably would go to Public Works Committee just for a final nod. And we don't typically bring those back here for a final nod, but we can if you'd like.
So would someone like to move resolution?
I'll move it.
I think that's a good choice. Is there a second?
Second.
Susie, questions or comments? I will say, I think it's fair to say, CJ, that there's been a lot of interest on this project. A lot of eyes on it, and it's not connected to the Route 13 improvements that they're making, but they certainly sort of come together.
Yeah, they'll dovetail.
Which Route 13 improvements you're talking?
Well, their DOT is just getting some comments, I think, right?
Yeah, there's a large paving project coming up for the next couple summers,
Okay,
fair warning. And then there's also the Build project initiated by the city of Ithaca.
The
on
what?
Route 13. It's called Build. It's a Build grant to take a look at Route 13, basically to the town line from, where's that, do you remember? Right
Purity.
around, yeah, basically right around Purity Ice Cream all the way.
sure.
Any other questions? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Consent agenda is next. There's a lot in the consent agenda.
Rod, what about the thing on the agenda about the house on Worth Street?
Isn't that in
Like it's
consent?
struck-
That's in consent.
Oh, it's in consent?
Right.
Okay.
As I said, there's a lot in consent agenda. So I'll pause.
I wanted to pull a couple things. Just hold on a second. Find them. I wanted to pull the fee reduction request and MOU for park relocation.
Okay. So would you like to move with those two? pulled?
Sure.
Is there a second?
Second.
Eric seconds. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. What questions did you have about? the
Just
fee
regarding
reduction?
the fee reduction request, the request itself is asking for relief, but it doesn't ask for a specific amount, so it wasn't clear to me what we're actually proposing to grant them, if anything.
Yeah, and it's capped, Marty. So I'm sorry that we didn't put that amount in. You-
So there is, if you.
Okay. Is
look,
it
there's
a,
the-
well, maybe you could just tell me if you happen to know.
I believe it's 25% of the fee, the building permit fee, or $50, whichever is greater,
So we're reducing the fee to 275.
which I believe is 25% of the building permit fee.
Okay, thanks. I wasn't clear on that.
Yes.
And the other thing regarding the parkland alienation, relocation, et cetera, I just have, would be nice to sort of frame this in the public record to get an idea of what the impetus is behind this land swap, other than that it does move the park closer to the existing subdivision there. I think it's, it's important that we're being transparent about what is potentially happening down there.
Yeah, and I apologize. After I looked at this again, I thought, that probably shouldn't have gone under consent. It should have probably been its own, so I apologize. But yeah, we can explain to
Sure.
the board. So part of it is that if there is a subdevelopment, housing subdevelopment there. So one thought is, wouldn't it be better to have the park next to that? But it also creates a larger space that Steve Eddy would have control over for whether it might be solar development down the road or some other opportunities. That right now, if you look at the map, it just divides the property up in an odd way. So it's to give more options in the open, especially preliminary for potential solar development.
That satisfies my needs. Thank you.
So with that, would you like to move those two items?
I'll take them one at a time, I guess. Yeah, I'll move the fee reduction.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Pam, all those in favor of the fee reduction, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Unanimous. And would you
I'll
like? me
also
to-
move the parkland relocation.
And I'll second that. Any questions or comments about that? And by the way, this is very early in the process. It's really just so we can start seeing if the state will grant us that. So it's just a very, very preliminary early step. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. So moving on to reports and updates. I'll just go through a few things. It is,
Rod, you need to do the rest of the consent agenda. You just voted on the 2 items that were pulled, but you haven't voted on the actual remainder of the consent agenda.
we did.
You did?
Yeah.
We did that before the separate item.
Oh, I thought the motion and second were to pull the items. No, they were on the consent agenda. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay. So it's African American month, so the Pan-African flag is on the pole right outside of Town Hall. For the three of us going to associations of towns, the Oric reception is back. So if you haven't been to the Oric reception,
my mind?
you should go. It's the 17th, and you do have to RSVP. So I sent the two of you info about the Oric reception. Rich will want you to go and eat food on his behalf.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
Judy, do you want to say something about the PERMA award?
The town has won another award from PERMA. We've been with PERMA, their workman's comp company, for probably over 25 years now. So we are winning a chairman award for pretty much consistent emphasis in safety. So that'll be in May is their meeting.
So good job, town. Thank you, Judy. And we get to have two people go to the PERMA conference, right? And that's still being decided?
Yeah, we're gonna discuss.
Okay. You know, we don't, at this point, I'm not expecting us to be impacted with some of the announcements being made about federal grants and what may happen there, but we're paying attention to those things. I think I sent an email to everyone. Did I send an email out about the energy tour on the Cornell campus on May 29th? I'm hoping some of you will be available. Does it sound like something I sent out to board members? So I will need to know, you know, probably they'll ask me a month in advance, how many of you might be going. It's 9 to noon, and they're inviting city and town board and council members and assuming key staff. So again, May 29th, for an email from me about that. If you already know, if you want to sign up, just let me know. Other updates, announcements, reports.
For some reason, I don't see that email about the Cornell Energy Tour. When did he send it?
Is anyone else finding it?
I don't recall.
Does anyone remember getting it? I'm pretty sure I sent it. Okay, I'll resend it. It sounds like I
Okay.
did send it, but
Nobody else is locating it.
well, Rich, I think, shook his head. He remembers it being sent. I'll
Okay.
resend it.
Thank you.
Anything else for this evening? If not, we'll adjourn at 5:57. Thanks, everyone.